From the gridiron to the hardwood, James Mesh breaks it all down. It's time for another episode of Cleats and Sneaks.
One of, if not the biggest talking point going around the NFL over the offseason and into last season, and kind of even before then, has been the Tush push. Should it be banned? Should it be not? It was voted on earlier in the offseason on April 1st with the first of two NFL owners' meetings. It ended up being a 16-16 tie, so therefore there weren't enough votes for the play to get banned or the rule to be changed how it's worded. It also came around today, the second of the NFL owners' meetings. Of course, it got voted on once again. This time, it got a lot closer. It ended up being a 22-10 vote in favor of banning the play, rewriting the rule book. However, it wasn't quite enough for it actually to be changed. In case you're not aware, it takes at least 24 owners out of 32 to vote in favor of a change for the rule to actually come to fruition, to where you alter how it is worded and the way the game is supposed to be played in that sense. So therefore, the tush push is still here. And of course, you're pretty much on one side or the other. Is it a good play? Is it a bad play? Should it stay? Should it go? I understand there's a lot of different ways you can look at the play. And there are 4-5 ways that usually people look at it and say that it affects the game of football in a negative sense. And I kind of want to talk about those and give my stance on each one of those. The first one, a lot of people always kind of go back to, it could lead to injuries. Well, guess what, genius? Any play could lead to an injury. That's football in its nature. And I understand the stance of, well, you'd rather be proactive than reactive, because what if one of these big-time quarterbacks ends up getting injured trying to run the play, but then pops his shoulder out of socket and is out for the rest of the year, breaks his elbow or what have you, and all of a sudden it's like, well, look what happened. We got an injury because of the play. But guess what? That's just a part of the game. Injuries happen all the time for a multitude of different reasons. If we're going to be that worried about a play leading to an injury, which, guess what? If you've watched all the times that the tush push has happened, show me the amount of times that it's led to an injury. Because I haven't seen one. So therefore, I don't think that that's really the case. I can understand where you would want to come from because you're trying to have player safety, but how often does the NFL really care about player safety? So to me, that point is irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. And that's kind of how I feel about quite a few of these. You also look at the Eagles' high success rate. It's unfair. How are they able to do so? Well, there's a multitude of different reasons. And the success rate is about 90%. So they're doing it at a very high clip. It's annoying for people because other teams do it. We've seen teams like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. They've done it before. They just don't do it as well. And that's the issue for some people as well. Here's the thing. Not everyone's offensive line is built like the Philadelphia Eagles. Look at them. They even showed a graphic during the Super Bowl to show how big each one of those offensive linemen are for the Philadelphia Eagles on that starting offensive line. They are built different. They have a different way of molding their offensive line. They're a lot bigger than the average offensive line, and especially in years past. Partially because the offense does have the advantage of knowing when the ball is supposed to be snapped. They kind of do have an edge in that sense. So the fact that they have bigger offensive linemen and they have the knowing of when they're supposed to be moving, they have the time advantage, they have that split-second head start, that's going to lead to a bigger time push and a higher success rate. Not to mention, the Eagles also, their starting quarterback, he's an absolute monster in the gym. He squats 600 pounds. He's one of the bigger built quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a lot stockier than the average NFL QB. So you mix a really big, physical, power offensive line, one of, if not the best offensive line, especially in the run game around the NFL, a quarterback that is built almost like a fullback, but can still sling the ball 60 yards down the field like it's no problem, and can squat 600 pounds, and can move his weight pretty well and push momentum forward for a first down or a touchdown, that's just not in favor of the defense. It's an advantage for the offense, sure, but that doesn't mean that it's woe is the defense. They're just getting out physical. And that's another thing that I'm going to get into later. Plus, the way I see it is, in the case for the way the Eagles run it, I don't think that matters all that much. And here's the thing. Also, people kind of say it's like a rugby play, and rugby shouldn't be a part of football. But it's like you can kind of draw a lot of similarities from football with rugby and vice versa. I understand that the Eagles hired a former rugby coach to help, and that was kind of part of the technique and why they're so good at it. But at the same time, the way I look at the play itself, I remember when I was starting to get into football and I was learning about the game and kind of trying to learn about the early history. Before the development of the forward pass, all you had were rugby scrums. I understand that's not the sexiest thing to watch, and it's also partially why people don't like the play itself, because it's not an exciting play to watch. But here's the thing. It's not like they're running it every single play. Plus, the fact that it kind of reminds me of those olden days, it kind of feels like it's almost an ode to the original game of football. I think this version of the game is better because you do have passing game. You can actually throw the ball forward. But at the same time, we see scrums all the time. And you're telling me when you're watching a game, you're not excited to watch something like that? Like when you have just a pile of dudes, like who's going to out-muscle each other? You're really upset watching that when you're watching the physical sport of football? Like who cares if it has some sort of similarities look-wise to rugby? Are you saying you hate rugby? Like, to me, that's a weird point to make, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Plus, people, and I've heard people bring this up before, aiding the runner. Now, the thing is, back in the day, aiding the runner used to be not a part of the game of football. But over time, they ended up changing the rule, and it's been like this for a little while now, where you can have offensive players help other offensive players move the football forward and keep them from losing their forward progress. Here's the thing. I think aiding the runner, the rule book, and like, oh, this is just such a huge advantage for the offense, this is cheating. I think it's irrelevant. Because rarely does that come up in a play and in a game. How often in a game do you watch these rugby scrums and these pile-ups where other offensive players are aiding the runner? It doesn't happen all that often. I'd say like what? Once, maybe twice a game? It doesn't happen all that often. If it happened all the time and this was just a superb advantage in favor of the offense and there was just literally nothing the defense can do, I'd be much more in favor and be like, you know what? This probably isn't best for the game of football. Let's move on from it. But guess what? The point of the game of football is to progress the football forward down the field and score points. Now, I get it. The defense is supposed to stop them. That's the whole point of their job as well. I mean, you can't just have points every single time. It doesn't feel all that realistic. Plus, it might get boring because it's like, well, one side of the football isn't even doing their job, so who cares? But the game's purpose is offensive driven. The rules are in favor of the offense. Offense is what brings in money to the NFL. If a play gives you a good chance to pick up a couple yards to extend a drive, then why would the league want to ban it? Why would they want to get rid of the play itself? Especially when it extends the drives, that leads to more points. More points leads to more excitement from the fans, and more excitement from the fans is seeing cool big-time plays and a whole lot of points on the board, as opposed to like 7 to 6 games where it's like barely anything happened. You're going to want to spend your money and be like, whoa, this is really cool. I like this product. This is fun. This is fun to watch. This is cool to see. Fairness, and this was another thing. Fairness was brought up as well. There are different rules for the game of football that are defensive and offensive advantage-wise. A lot of it goes towards the offense, as I brought up earlier. But again, that's part of why the league is offensive-driven. The game is offensive-driven. You're supposed to score points to win the game. The defense can do things that the offense cannot do. The offense can do things that the defense cannot do. It can't be exactly one way or the other every single time. Is it an advantage for the offense? Yes, it is an advantage for the offense. I'm not going to deny that. It is 100% an advantage. The fact that you have stuff like this happen. But at the same time, if it was so in favor of the offense, and as some people call it, cheating, then everyone else can do it and should do it so much better. It goes back to the Eagles being built to run this play at such a high success rate. Other teams are not building their teams to be able to run these types of plays in every single short yard situations. If they wanted to, they could. And if that was the case, and this was just pretty much a guaranteed play that gets you 2-3 yards, a guaranteed first down and or a touchdown every single time they ran it, then it's a completely different story. But that is not the case. The aiding the runner gives you an advantage for the offense, but it's not cheating. It's really not. We've seen the play get stopped multiple times before. It's not impossible. Just get better at it. We've seen other plays before where other teams kind of got around the playbook and got around the rule book, like the read option, like the RPO, like the Wildcat. Was it hard to stop at first? Yes. It was tough because you're like, what are we supposed to do? But what happened over time? Those fads got outplayed. People and defensive and coaches, they figured out how to stop those plays, and they became less of a guarantee, I guess you could say. Because I remember that first time when the Dolphins ran that against the Patriots, they were absolutely bamboozled with what happened, but over time, they figured out how to stop it. Same thing with the read option. It's not as good nowadays as it once was. Same thing with the RPO when the Eagles started running that as well, and other teams are starting to adopt it. It's a good way to run an offense, but it's no guarantee. It's the same thing with the tush push. If it was a guarantee for the team to get an automatic set of yards or an automatic set of points and score a touchdown every single time they were at the goal line within a couple of yards, then it's a completely different story. But the fact that only one team is really good at it, a couple of teams are okay at it, and we've seen defenses multiple times, multiple different teams and defenses actually stop the plays being run, shows that this is not impossible. You can get better at stopping the play. You just have to dedicate more time to it. So the fact that you're looking at all of these arguments, some of them are valid. Some of them are actually somewhat understandable why you feel that way. However, trying to ban a single play when it doesn't guarantee anything for anyone and only one team is good at it, and you're trying to get rid of it, to me comes off as cowardly. It shows that you aren't trying to get better yourself. You're just trying to find the easy way out. And the fact that it increased by so many votes, by 6, from 16 votes in favor of banning it to 22 now, shows that the trajectory is that it probably will get banned the next time they vote on this play. It would not surprise me. I've started to accept it. But here's the thing. What it reminds me of with this is whenever the little brother goes cry to mom and dad because big brother keeps beating him. It's going to take some time, and we start to see a little bit of a blueprint of stopping the play. But taking the easy way out on this, it's stupid. I think it's dumb. I think it's cowardly. And I think if you're really going to dedicate yourself and really want to stop this play, do it yourself instead of trying to take the easy way out. That's how I feel. I think the play should stay. I think it's a good play. Is it super exciting? No. But is it overpowered and impossible for the defense to stop? Absolutely not. It should stay. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you tuning into another edition of Cleats and Sneaks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel ESPN Southwest Louisiana. Got a lot of great local content and even national content with plenty of podcasts and other programming that we bring to you here. I'll talk to you next time. I've been James Mesh, signing out.